for sharing this, I know, last week, and some folks have seen it on user calls and whatnot. Um, since last week, we've made quite a few changes, just cleaning up the presentation, the way that information is displayed and making it more consistent across pages. So here we're looking at a chats list. One of the things that's what we're trying to model after in the new UI is the way that we enjoy using linear, and the fact that you can filter and search data in linear that makes it sometimes easy to find that engineering ticket you're looking for. And so all of our list screens are using this table component that allows us to type in criteria such as notes, and we can see that we're looking for this particular chat, or filter on chats from specific workspaces or by certain people or projects or those that are shared and not shared. Also trying to make it easy to modify records. So for example, if we wanted to take a tag or a label off of a chat, we could just do that and that would be saved. Or we might have action items on a chat without having to go into it to share it or delete it or view it. We can see as we go over to library, which is where our assets are, it's again the same display in that we can search, we can filter, we can modify tags, or again, do specific action items. Andy, last week, did you go into workspaces and projects?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
Okay. I think then I'll show the workspaces page, which the design has been cleaned up a little bit from last week. And so I think that the information is just a little bit easier to digest here now. But the main thing that I want to highlight is the idea of concepts. And this is something that we've been testing with a lot of calls, and seems to be getting pretty good, seems to be resonating really well with people. For example, we have Jeremy, who works in the talent industry for movie studios and actors, and trying to get actors connected to the right role at the right script at the right studio, because an actor might have a dying need to be in a romantic role right now, and MGM has a film that they're producing that is a romance film, and they're looking for somebody with salt and pepper hair between the ages of 45 and 55. He's kind of like George Clooney, but not George Clooney. And it's Jeremy's job, and the job of all those he works with, to connect all these dots in a fast and furious culture that works mainly on email. And one of Jeremy's main pain points is that uh, these email threads become extremely huge. And um, it can be hard for Jeremy and his coworkers to know the status of that actor or that role or that script, and has that studio secured a director, and just all these crazy things that he has to do by stitching together hundreds of emails that are difficult to read because it starts nice and organized, but then as somebody replies with one sentence and somebody else replies with another sentence, after 50 or 60 replies, it's just madness. And I think we've all experienced that. Stephen, and this concept, actually, the concept of concepts actually kind of got kickstarted by Stephen, where he wanted to have a concept of harness and a concept of a customer, and be able to just chat with that like we kind of do today with collections. And so what we're looking at here is a total worldview of Storytell knowledge, anchored into objects or entities or concepts. And we're very much would like to get your feedback and the feedback of others on what the right terminology is here. In many ways, this is a story tile, and maybe this is what story tiles were always trying to be. The concepts that we're looking at here were extracted out of Microsoft's earnings reports. And so I can go into something like Microsoft Cloud. And the idea here is that I can click into it and I can look at the concept of Microsoft Cloud which is the aggregate of all important knowledge for Microsoft Cloud. And I could also chat with it. So this is a presentation view of Microsoft Cloud, but I could also just in a prompt say, tell me everything that's important in the most recent earnings call with Microsoft Cloud. And that might be a way to have very targeted queries, just like we do today. And so looking at this kind of worldview of the Microsoft Cloud concept, we can see a summary of what this thing even is. We can see that it has kind of been categorized automatically here. We can see some key properties here and relationships to other concepts, uh, such as Azure or LinkedIn, and alternative names that it has been referenced by in these other materials. There will be many, many references. This is kind of just a short list, and so, or relationships, I should say. And so as we click on relationships here, again, using the same search and filter, we could say, just show me relationships which are technical or that are products, etc. This screen has quite a bit of iteration still to do on it. Now, one of the important things that we've heard again and again is how important it is for Storytel to push signal out. And so if something important has changed with Microsoft Cloud, or one of your customers has gone from a high risk, or sorry, a high likelihood of renewal to a at-risk status for renewal, that's something somebody probably cares about. And this bell icon up here, you can imagine that you want to be notified anytime something important has happened. Right now, we can see that we're not getting any notifications, but we could turn those on, or we could snooze them. And we can also come to our notifications tab here, and we can see all of the people who have subscribed to some kind of important change with Microsoft Cloud. So in this example, Alice wants to know anytime our worldview of Microsoft Cloud has changed, and Alice has an active subscription. Bob is only worried about significant changes, but maybe Carol here is just annoyed. She got too many notifications for any change, and so she came in and disabled it. Maybe Alice is going on vacation and Alice wants to snooze notifications. She could do that just for Microsoft Cloud or across the Storytel platform, or disable them completely. Now, how do these concepts get built and populated? As the knowledge flows in and after it's done processing, we reference those concepts that we have and we see if we have any new ones and we see if we need to update them. And by default, that's something that Storytel can automatically do for our customers. But sometimes, and I can imagine this for Stephen being the power user that he is that Stephen might want to have granular control over the type of knowledge which is flowing into the worldview of Microsoft Cloud. And so Jeremy might leave this on automatic, and I hope he would, because that would mean our algorithms are doing a great job of only putting the most important information in the summary, for example. But if you wanted to take custom control, you could add custom instructions. For example, here we'll say, extract only key concept and ignore all technical troubleshooting tickets. And so this would help seed the prompt, which we're using as information's flowing through Storytel to see if something important has changed that we need to update the Microsoft Cloud concept. And as users play with this over time, maybe they didn't like the fact that technical information wasn't flowing into the Microsoft Cloud concept. And so they could go back and restore a previous version of these instructions at another point in time. So I'll stop there and see if there are any questions, or Giorgio, if there's anything that you would like to add.
Actually trying to like draw this out while I'm here. You talk about it, Aaron. So I'm not quite ready, but this is a really important thing for us to be able to fully understand and figure out how to communicate out to the world. So how about this? Love to hear any initial reactions, or maybe somebody can try paraphrasing, Aaron. Maybe we try that. Who could try paraphrasing what a concept is?
It's a discovery mechanism, right? So today, everything is pull-based. So you ask a question, right? And you get back a response from the LLM, and at the bottom, you'll see citations, right? So this is the opposite of that, where we are showing people the concepts before the questions are even asked. And once you have that foundational building block, you can do all sorts of interesting things to, as Aaron noted, trigger events or ask questions that reference them, all sorts of fun stuff.
Who else would add anything there? I've got one thing to mention. The one thing that makes this so powerful is if you think about unstructured data and you think about throwing everything into a Google Drive or everything into an Amazon S3 bucket or everything in your email, all the attachments in your email, they're all different. They don't have like a similar structure. Like there's no one way to talk about all that stuff. It's like a soup. And so what this does is this like dynamically creates structure in all that content. It makes a common object out of all that stuff, common objects that we can now use to interact with that whole soup. So whereas before it was a complete mess, it's like you're walking into a messy room and it's just imagine a house and it's just like completely, it's like a hoarder's house. It's messy everywhere. Like that's what like an unstructured data lake or just like all this stuff, you just can't do anything with it. And now as we crawl all of this and we make sense out of that, now you can be like, who cares about at responsible AI in like everything? And it's going to be like, oh, Erica had a call with, Jenny 3 weeks ago about responsible AI. And here's the sentence where they talked about it in the email. And oh, there was a Zoom call where Erica was talking about Microsoft, about responsible AI with Microsoft. And here's the 37 seconds of that call. It's like so powerful to have this different view on the data that's really never existed in the world. I mean, Aaron, you're exactly right. This is like the dream of Storytiles, and maybe this is just a better way to describe it. Does that make sense to everyone? Like it's now usable.
Yeah, I think this is, I mean, it feels pretty revolutionary of, creating that, Jody, you've brought up the brain, like using that mind mapping essentially, but in real time on all your company's data. Yeah, a pretty big deal. And I think interesting to investors who get it as well. So I think really powerful for us. It makes me think almost like if you were doing an investigation, like there was this, I don't know, I'll try dropping this link in, like a murder wall, if you're investigating a murder, except for you're investigating responsible AI or, whatever else, and just piecing everything together. Jody, I do have another thought, but it's tangential. So I can share it now or after your drawing.
No, go ahead. It's gonna take me a few minutes.
Right. So I was helping a CTO of an AI company yesterday think about customer success at GTC. And we started talking about prompts, and like prompts are unstructured data. And how could we get a better sense of our customers' experience with our product, or like, sentiment analysis, churn risk, et cetera, just from their prompting alone. And like maybe that's a valuable thing to explore, and maybe it's not. But it just made me wonder, yeah, what's the really easy initial version of that does of building? But it just, Aaron, as you're presenting this, which is such an exciting dashboard, I'm getting on a call with Bearish later with you, Andy, so thank you. Will be Chrome extension focused, but he's totally lost in our new platform. He's like, it's too complicated. I don't know how to use it, so I don't use it. And what you're sharing, like really makes sense. I feel grounded in each area as opposed to trying to figure out, wait, where was that one particular chat? It's much better than the Gen 1 experience, but you know, the complexity, the kind of complexity we don't want our users to experience. So yeah, I'm pretty excited about everything that you're sharing. Right.
Thank you. It's the work of all of our learnings and feedback. And so the ask I have for everybody on this call is to reiterate what Giorgio said, which is how can we best communicate this idea? Is concepts the right word? Is there another word? Should we call it story tiles? Ideally, we're using language that we don't have to teach somebody, that it's intuitive and they just get it. And so your feedback, this is even just the word here, is something we really have to play with. And so I'll stop there and turn
Anybody
it
have an
over.
opinion, a quick opinion about that? Concepts, anything better than concepts, let's put it that way. Okay.
I have a question, not an idea though. I just want to check if I understand the concept of concepts. Um, is concept from will concepts be created by each file that is uploaded in Storytel, or is concept a collections of idea for all the files uploaded? So it means that for all the files that I uploaded in Storytel, it creates concepts based on those files.
The latter. So let's say there's in the employee space, there's a concept of Aaron Greenlee at Storytel, and I'm connected to the linear tickets that are being ingested. I'm connected to the Zoom conversation. I'm connected to the Slack data we ingested, but Aaron's the same, right? Across all these things. And so you could load up the concept of Aaron Greenlee and see what is the world view from all these things I'm connected to. And then if you care about Aaron Greenlee, maybe you get notified anytime something significant has changed. Similar to each of our customers, right? The world view across everything we know.
This is such an important question, Lex. And the reason it's such an important question is because the answer has never existed. Like we've never, like maybe someone can tell me if there's ever been a way to answer your question before the work that Storytel is doing. But we live in an asset first world. I'm going to send you the Zoom recording. I'm going to send you the email. I'm going to send you the PDF. I'm going to send you the PowerPoint, which is like how humans work, right? It's an asset first view on knowledge and content. And what we're talking about is making it so that you can have a concept first view of the world. Like in that PDF, there's a lot of concepts, a lot of chunks, right? They're like smaller. They're like the atomic unit is like a chunk. It's like a sentence. It's what Shelby works in all day. That's kind of like the big innovation in LLMs is chunks. But chunks come together to form concepts. And so like in that PDF, maybe I talked about the Q1 sales plan and I talked about beta tech being a churn risk. And then in a Zoom call, I talked about my weekend plans. And I also talked about beta tech being a churn risk. But if I just want to know about beta tech being a churn risk, you could send me the PDF and I could watch the whole Zoom, but that's really inefficient. I have to go find the signal and all that stuff. And what we're saying is like, no. We're just going to show you all the stuff about beta tech being a churn risk. Right? That's the concept that you can now. And oh, by the way, I want to be notified every time there's anything about beta tech being a churn risk, but I just want to be notified about that little bit of it. So I don't want to get the whole Zoom call. I just want to get that little bit of it. That's what we've been trying to explain here. But man, I get on calls with people and they just don't get it. right? It's like these 3 rows of the CSV and this paragraph of the transcript and these 3 slides of the PowerPoint are all about Q1 sales performance. You know, we've been trying to describe that as story tiles, but it just hasn't hit. So maybe this is a better way.
I think it is, and it also harkens back to Jensen's keynote this week, where part of what he was saying is, the general purpose computer is dead. Like, we're just moving into an accelerated AI-based computing world where you're not searching for files anymore. You're using something like Storytell to surface concepts.
Jensen's sake, you're using Storytell?
Obviously not. He talked about perplexity. I said something like,
You should have.
yeah, apparently he's not aware of us. So that's maybe his one failing. But yeah, they said you'd use something like perplexity. But that, this world where when we get on calls with folks and they're like trying to search for files, it takes 5 minutes, or if not 10, it's a mess. He's like, yeah, we're looking at the past when we experience that. So I think what was exciting for me in hearing that part of his keynote was like, oh, this has been Trodeo's vision since the founding of Storytell. And like, we're on the cusp of bringing it to fruition. And according to Jensen, it is the future.
Does this make sense to everybody? Who's got like, is this kind of a new revelation to anybody? Because I totally get it if it is, because it is so hard to explain to like people. Like, does this help in terms of like what we're hoping we can do?
Yes, for me, yes, it makes more sense. I just have a follow-up question. So the more files we upload or add to the concepts, the more the concepts gets more detailed and more gives more depth to what that concept is. Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah, and that concept can change over time. For example, you upload your Q1 sales data and then your Q2 sales data. Just doing that can change all of the products because their sales figures have changed between quarters. It can relate to customers because the amount that a customer is buying between quarters has changed. So the customer concept has evolved, and each product's concept can evolve. And I think one of the small things that I can't really show yet is I think it will make it easier for people just to prompt and use the kind of prompt features that we're building, because at Microsoft will mean something to them that they can see too without having to create special collections for these things, right? You can just upload 3 documents and you might have 50 at mention concepts that you can target.
There's also an important thing here, which is that these concepts have relationships to each other, and the strength of those relationships varies, right? So if I uploaded content and we're extracting concepts, my weekend plans might have like a 4% strength relationship to beta tech. Beta tech might have a 90% strength relationship to churn risk because it is a churn risk. And all that, beta tech has a 72% relationship to the sales plan because beta tech is a customer. And so now I can start to say things like, oh, push me any signal about beta tech, or push me any signal about churn risks, or only tell me about beta tech being a churn risk. Or even better, I didn't even ask those questions, but Storytell knows that I'm a CSM and that beta tech is my customer. And so I get pushed, hey, Pat, beta tech is a churn risk. And I'm like, holy shit, what? Like, I had no idea about that. But like, the product team was talking to beta tech and they were on a Zoom call, and beta tech is pissed right now, et cetera, right? And so now, because of these relationships, we start to be able to do some really powerful things with pushing signal and understanding what that context is between those concepts. So